Hi everyone, welcome to Casting Rainbows, raising money for Rainbows Hospice. I'm just going to move you forward. Hopefully you can see me. I'll just wait for a moment to see if anyone joins us, and if not, I'm just going to carry on and we're just going to talk about feelings. So, my name's Jennifer Wyman and I'm from Bridge the Gap Child Mental Health. So we are a non-profit organisation that help teach children about emotions. So we teach children about feelings, how it feels in their body. And the thing with feelings is that they can feel really uncomfortable. That's really normal. So some feelings can be much easier to experience than some more difficult ones. But the thing with emotions and feelings is they're all really, really important and we need all of them. So the more we can learn about them, the more we can explore them in a really fun and safe way, the better placed we are to be able to cope with them and find effective strategies for dealing with those more uncomfortable ones. And we do that all the time at Bridge the Gap. So I was hoping that maybe some of you might have some questions, but we've not got lots of people watching. But fortunately, we get lots of people asking us questions all the time from young people. So I will be able to answer some of those as we go along. But you can comment below, please do engage, and let's see how much fun we can have with feelings. So, it's difficult to know where to start when it comes to feelings, but I've pulled some cards out and I'm going to pull them one at a time and I'm going to show them to you and we can have a little exploration and see if any questions come up about them. So the first one I've pulled and I want to talk about is a really nice one, and that is loved. How lovely does it feel to feel loved? And it's so nice. But if we stop a minute to actually think about how that feels in our bodies when we feel loved, we feel warm, we feel safe, we feel cocooned, that's a really nice thing to feel and a really easy one. But also I think it's something we always search for because we all need to feel loved, don't we? Grown-ups and children. So loved, and I love that image. Exploring the easy emotions is just as important as exploring those more big and difficult ones. So let's have a look. I've got lots of cards to the side, so let's have a little look, and I'm going to pull out frustrated. I love this picture. These cards are by a wonderful lady called Dr. Karen Traisman. She's fantastic and she makes lots of cards like this to really help children learn about their feelings and emotions. So here you can see we've got a monkey reaching through the bars trying to get an apple and he can't get it. How frustrating is that? We've all been there, haven't we, when we're trying to do something but we just can't quite get it. That's quite a big and difficult emotion. And the thing with frustrated is if we don't deal with frustrated and we ignore those warning signals that come alongside it, it can lead to a bigger emotion, the one that I know we all experience, and that is anger. And anger feels hot, sweaty, heart racing, trembling, feeling like we might explode because we've got so much energy running through our bodies. But very often underneath that anger, frustrated, is a feeling that we can experience. There's always a reason why we feel angry. It's nothing to feel ashamed of because everybody feels angry sometimes. That's okay. The more we learn about these emotions underneath anger, the better placed we are to cope with things at this level before it escalates. But that takes a lot of practice, a lot. You saw a monkey throw a lettuce up in the air at a zoo once. Love that. I love watching the monkeys because they are incredibly resourceful, aren't they? And incredibly resilient. So frustrated, love that one. Tips to calm a 3 to 4 year old when they're frustrated. So, hi Becky. What I will say is it's really, really normal developmentally for 3 to 4 year olds to get very frustrated a lot because emotions are something that take us a lifetime to learn about, and neurologically, so in our brains, that part of the brain doesn't mature until around the ages of 25 years. So that's a long time. So a lot of repetition is needed, which why as a grown-up it can feel a little bit frustrating at times. But what I will say at 3 to 4 years old is to really sort of be mindful, take a step back. There will be signs underneath that come a lot sooner. So a lot of the work that I do with children or with parents is getting them to step back again a little bit further, so to find out what it is and then just explore that emotion, allow them to feel it, don't try and stop it, because we need all those emotions, and look after you, because when you're dealing with a 3 to 4 year olds when they're frustrated, it's incredibly exhausting, incredibly draining. Incredibly, even as they get older, that's still very draining, isn't it? So to make sure you're looking after you, but trying not to fix it, but try and hold that space for them to feel frustrated, for them to know that, you know, they're going to come out the other side of frustrated, and to try and explore the emotion of frustrated. So for example, these cards are really good because they come with lots of other sort of cards called sentence completion cards. Now these are really good, and I like parents using them with their children. I think if you work in a school, it's safer to stay alongside the feelings cards. I think that's really nice. But these are great for parents and certainly something that we can use. So you could use something like this, much more engaging, to explore what it is that they're feeling frustrated about, and trying to pinpoint for them how that feels in their body, so over time they can learn to recognize those cues and then implement a strategy. So it might be, if they're starting to feel frustrated and they can recognize that they can just stop at that point and utilize a soothing or regulating or grounding strategy to help them until that moment passes, so that they can then revisit that and have another go. The other thing I would say is modelling is really, really powerful for children of all ages. So really thinking about how you can model when you're frustrated. So not saying it directly to the child necessarily, but just incidentally in front of them. So if there was something that you're trying to do in the kitchen, for example, to say like, oh, I'm starting to feel like I can't breathe fully. I'm just gonna stop. I'm going to take a step outside and I'm going to do 4 deep breaths before I come back to it. So you're not saying that directly to them, but it's incidentally, and it's just creating that space where emotions are explored in a really natural and normal way, and it creates so much permission if they can see mum, dad or any caregivers doing that themselves. But be sort of developmentally realistic, welcome those tantrums and explosions and frustrations into the home, because they need to have them so they can experience them, so they can learn how to cope with those long term. If we try and stop those, it can prevent that wiring, which is really unhelpful in the long term. I hope that helps a little bit. It's do have a look on our website. We've got a free booklet called Emotional Literacy. It's a brief introduction to emotional literacy. Have a download of that, Becky, have a read through, and if you've got any questions, get in touch. But that's a really good starting point, I would say, for that age category as a parent. I hope that helps a little bit. So back to the monkey. Where is my frustrated monkey gone? He's in here somewhere. Where did I put him? I've lost my frustrated monkey. See, that could make me frustrated because I don't know where I've put it. How ironic is that? Anyway, let's move on to another. Oh, there he is. I found him. See, I carried on and I found it. Yeah, so frustrated. Something like this is a really good card, a starting point, making pictures and collages around frustrations and just saying, oh, I feel like this. You do a collage, they do a collage. Drip, 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 drip. We're looking for a drip, drip, drip when it comes to feelings. So it's not one big thing. It's lots of little things over a long period of time that really helps, but they're going to get there. We as adults struggle with that sometimes, don't we? Okay, shall we pull another card? Let's have a look at one I think we can all relate to right now. Bored. This is something that I know a lot of our children are experiencing, both in our service and in our homes. The whole team at Bridge the Gap are experiencing bored. I wish I felt bored. Unfortunately, no, it is unfortunately, because it means a lot of people need support at the moment, but I've not really got time to be bored. The thing with bored for children, for when you're young, is that's really difficult, because when you're bored and you're sat there, you are left with your thoughts, aren't you? And because we're so busy these days and we're so easily distracted with things, actually stopping still and being quiet and having those thoughts come to the forefront of our minds is quite scary, and it can feel quite uncomfortable. But bored is really good, because this is where ideas come from. This is where we learn to recognise our thoughts and think, do I need to pay attention to those, or do I need to just let them float by on that cloud? And bored is really important. What I will say is making a relaxation kit is a really good thing to do. And this is really good for you to utilise if you are struggling with sleep. So to use in what we call the golden hour at Bridge the Gap. So at the start of the golden hour, to utilise your relaxation kit. But also it's something then you can use when you're bored. And we have all sorts of things in there. We have puzzle books, quiz cards, notepads with pencil cases, we have colouring sheets, we have fidget toys, we have scented ribbons, we have little pots of Play-Doh, we have little tubs of Lego, all sorts of things that you can pop inside your relaxation kit. Also in there, what you can do if you're experiencing bored a lot is create what we call a things to do card. And it's just having fun with a notepad and paper, pens, stickers. I love creativity, so I'm going to get all the crafty bits out. But if not, and you just like pencils or cutting out pictures from magazines, whatever you like. But to decide, what is it? I think we've got a thing here. My favourite activities are. So thinking about what your favourite things to do are. Now, there will be a lot of things that your favourite things to do at the moment that perhaps you're not allowed to do. So for example, if you like gymnastics or football or dancing or going to any drama clubs or swimming and all of those things, and we can't do those at the moment. So it's trying to take a step back and think, what are the things that I like to do at home? So for example, do you like scrapbooking? Do you like writing letters to friends? Do you like getting a particular toy out and playing with that? Are there things that you like to sort and organise? Have you got a pet that you could brush or stroke? Have you got a project you want to start? And thinking about all of those things that you like to do and then writing them down on a card. And I like to laminate it, but you don't have to laminate it, and then popping that in your relaxation kit. So every time you feel bored, you have a list of things that you can do, and one of those things might be to just sit and listen and try and see how many things you can hear, how many different sounds you can hear, how many different blue objects you can see, all of those lovely things. So when we're bored, having a little think about what our favourite activities are and creating a relaxation kit helps us to really ride that wave if those thoughts get uncomfortable, or we just don't want to feel bored and we want to be more productive. So relaxation kits and a things to do card is a really good thing to pop inside. So I hope that helps a little bit with bored. Right, I'm going to do a different now. So they're cards, but I've also got a big bag of balls. I don't know if you can see those. Strange on my phone. So I love emoji balls, and this is a really good idea for you if sometimes when we're experiencing lots of feelings, especially if they're more big and difficult, but sometimes the difficult ones aren't sad. I find excited a really difficult emotion to experience because it's very big, there's lots of energy involved, and it can make our thoughts think all sorts of things and get all tangled up, because our thoughts get quicker, don't they, when we're excited. So sometimes that can make us feel a little bit fidgety, maybe a little bit unable to kind of regulate our behaviours in the same way. So balls are a really good way to help cope with that. So what I like to do, if one of my children or me, and they use this with me as well now because they're very good co-regulators for me, if I don't know how it is I feel, but I just feel what I like to call I don't know if you've ever felt but I sometimes feel a bit and you don't know what it is inside, then sometimes just having a look in a bag of balls like this, and you can make these your own with tennis balls and put stickers on or anything, or draw faces on with pens. It doesn't have to be these balls. And grabbing one out. So for example, this one I believe, is an angry ball, or a little bit cross or sad. So by taking the ball, it's helping me to unbox how I feel. And then what I like to do is, you can squeeze these ones, but a really nice thing to do when you feel that way is to play catch with somebody. So asking a grown-up or a friend or your brother or sister, whoever's in your home with you, to play a little game of catch. So grabbing a ball and having a good game of catch. Now what that does is that helps to calm our minds down a little bit, because it's very rhythmic and repetitive playing catch. And once we've played catch for a little bit, we might be able to start thinking about what our thoughts are. We might be able to start answering some questions that the other person asks us, to help us work out what it is in our mind that we're going through. Excuse me, you see, working from home, I've got my daughter sneezing in the background. So these are really nice. These are soft because you can throw them, they don't do much damage, because sometimes when we are experiencing things like anger, especially, we might want to throw and break things. So having something safe to throw, I like bean bags into a bucket in your bedroom in a really nice safe space. That's really lovely. If you like breaking things, we don't really say in this at the moment because, you know, food is really precious, isn't it? But we would say normally to keep a pack of spaghetti and maybe break that up into a box, or rip up lots of bits of paper into a shoe box, things like that. So depending on what you naturally sort of go to when you feel that way, can give you a lot of ideas about things you can use to help you when you feel that way. Does that make sense? Feels a bit confusing when I'm saying it all live and not thinking so quickly, but a bag of emoji balls, love it, love it. I cannot tell you how many times on the when my daughter struggles to go to school, how many times when all of that emotion just builds up to the top, that she'll just grab a ball out of here and we'll just have a game of catch. And then after a few minutes, we'll just start to have a conversation, just start to unpick a little bit with really safe questions. Do you see how I like to do the movements with it? So yeah, that's another really fun way of dripping those emotions in, just having these things visible. If you find it uncomfortable to see such visual, kind of what we call visual overload, so very obvious emojis, then that's when these cards are really lovely, because they're much gentler, they're softer. And you could even have a go of making these yourselves together. That would be a really lovely way to explore feelings and emotions in itself. So we've looked at all of those and we've explored the emoji things. What else did I get to show you? Well, sometimes it can be hard to know where to start when we're exploring our emotions and feelings. So I'm glad you like the emoji idea, Becky. I love it. I love those balls. They're amazing. They're actually really inexpensive. I think you can get some for less than £10 from Amazon. So it's definitely worth looking into. So just so you know, any of these things that I show you, I'm not showing them you for any other reason other than I think they're really, really helpful. And if anyone's got any questions about them, then do get in touch and I can direct you to the people who create them and where to buy them. And this is another resource I love. So this is my mood stars, and my lovely friend Wendy made these many years ago now, I think a couple of years ago, and you can get this lovely board with stars on, and you can also buy this lovely book. Now this is a really nice thing to do, especially if we're younger and we're exploring emotions for the very first time. The more we explore them, remember, the less uncomfortable they get, because we remind ourselves that moments always pass. Big and difficult emotions come, but they also go, and they really do. And there are things we can do to feel safe when that happens, and maybe I'll share a couple of bits of those before I sign off. Please donate, by the way, if you've not already and you're enjoying the session. That would be lovely, raising money for Rainbows Hospice. Oh, thanks, Kate. So my mood stars, this is a book, so they don't come together, but I really like this. So if you're exploring emotions for the first time, I think this is a really nice place to start. And actually on our Facebook group page, we've got a video talking about the free colouring sheets from these and how to make your own My Mood Stars board, which is a really nice way to introduce it. But this has just got very simple images of the stars and then a really nice question. So scared star looks frightened. Do you ever feel frightened or worried? What frightens or worries you? I don't know if you can see that there. Really nice. And then you can draw a picture. Maybe you can, I think it's really important when we're doing any of these that our grown-ups answer those questions as well, because that creates a lot of permission and it reminds us that all feelings are normal and we all experience them all. So my mood stars are a really fun way, and if you're struggling with a particular emotion, similar to the emoji balls, you can grab a star. Sorry, one was out of my reach there. So this is Sleepy Star, and I know a lot of our children like to sleep with Sleepy Star, because when we go to sleep, similar to the bored emotion that we looked at, all our thoughts can come to the surface, and if we're not used to experiencing those thoughts because we're always so busy, it can feel really uncomfortable. But our brain really does need that time to have those thoughts. It needs between 7 to 20 minutes. So I like to have something like this in bed with me to help me as those thoughts come. I like to think of them as on clouds. So they come and I can notice them, and then when I've noticed them and I think, oh, bring myself back with my star or a piece of scented ribbon or an object from mum or dad or whoever looks after you, or maybe a t-shirt that you like, a favourite object, a grounding stone even, and that helps us to bring back, take a breath and blow those clouds away, because thoughts come and go. It's the way our brain processes so that we can switch and shut down, and get a good quality of sleep. So it's can feel uncomfortable, thoughts, if we're not used to experiencing them, but it's really normal and we need them because our brain has to process what we've done throughout the day. But something like this can really help us to feel a little bit safer. I love Sleepy Star, so cute. Lovely. Okay, another way, and one more thing I want to show you guys, and then I'll share a couple of our grounding and soothing strategies. Is this big book of feelings. Now, books are a really lovely way to explore emotions. And I think the more we have these books around the house, the more we read them, the more we get curious around emotions, the better. We never, oh, got a question. All kinds of emotions about going back to school at the moment after such big changes. Okay, I'll answer that for you, Scraggy Moo. 1 second. So this big book of feelings is a really good example, and I don't know if any of you have seen the book You Choose, but that's a very popular one that children that I've always worked with have loved as well. And it's similar, but this is about emotions. When it comes to physical health, we talk about it all the time from a really young age. We're not scared that by talking about eating fruit or vegetables or things that we're going to make children not be healthy. And it's the same when it comes to emotions. We can have these conversations, we can talk about feelings, and that's a really good way. So this book's lovely because it talks about how it feels inside the body, and it talks about behaviours that might happen at that time and why it might happen. So books like this, and I also really like the When I Feel range. So let me answer this question from Scraggy Moo. Hi Jo, I was just wondering about what advice you would give to children and parents who may be feeling all kinds of emotions about going back to school at the moment after such big changes. Do you know, the biggest advice I would give right now is to say that that's really normal to feel that way. So that's the first thing. Allow yourself to accept that it's going to feel unnerving, it's going to feel uncertain. This is something we've never done before. We've never experienced this transition back into school after such a long period of time, and things aren't going to be the same as what they once was. So I think that's the first thing, is to really validate how you feel and validate how your child feels about it. So what we don't want to do is invalidate that with what we call fix-it statements. So by trying to say, well, you don't need to worry about that because so-and-so and so-and-so will be there. That doesn't take away the worry. What's much better to do is validate that worry first and foremost, to say, oh, well, that's really normal you feel that way because it's been a long time, isn't it? shall we sit and have a little explore about why you might be feeling worried? Because there might be something really specific that they're worried about that you can maybe problem solve together. There are some really lovely, again, the Facebook groups, we've got lots of videos on this, but on the website as well, there's resources to help you with children explore this in a really safe way, but always refraining from fixing it. And for the teachers as well, it's the same thing. You know, our teachers are humans, they're not robots, you know, they're teachers and they're amazing. They do such a good job, and I hope everybody values them more than ever before right now. They're going to have a really, really tough time going back. There's lots of things we're doing actually to support teachers and help them think about the recovery curriculum. But what I will say is just spend some time for you whenever you can to acknowledge and validate how you feel and explore it in a safe way. So that might be using mind maps, it might be using creativity, but self-care it doesn't have to be a massive thing. It's just about taking very small pockets to unbox how you feel, but really validate those emotions. That you're gonna feel that way right now. It's a really strange time. I feel that way. I'm sat here thinking, when I go back to work, what's that going to look like? When am I going to be able to see children one-to-one again? When am I going to be able to run parent workshops and emotional health workshops for children? When are we going to be able to do all that? There's a lot of questions. So what I will say is we're trying to access children. So if they're having what we call future-based worries, so lots of what-if thoughts, that's really difficult. So we can just hold a space to acknowledge and validate those, but we can't problem solve things that haven't happened yet. If any of those thought processes that are coming out are starting to be, I'll be in a different class, that's an actual worry that you can then problem solve. And I would say there's a free webinar on our website called Supporting Children Through the Coronavirus Pandemic. Now, although that's not about going back to school, the fundamental basics of that are going to be really, really helpful for you to just explore, you know, the importance of really just acknowledging how they feel right now. And for the teachers as well. I hope that helps. And lastly, before I sign off, I want to give you some coping strategies and things to explore. So a lot of the time when we're experiencing big and difficult emotions and we're what we call at peak arousal, so we're right at the top there, so maybe we're at frustrated or creeping up above frustrated, or we're creeping above feeling lonely, and it's creeping up and up and up. What we want then, we try and access support, don't we, and we put in strategies. But what's really important to do is to utilise all these coping, soothing and grounding and regulating strategies in a proactive way. So implementing them into your home. So for example, if a child's worried about going back to school right now, I would say, what physical brainstem calmer activities have you got in place there? You know, every 45 minutes, are you just getting up and saying, right, come on guys, let's all push this wall together, and all those kinds of things that we can do in a proactive way. But also, so this is one of our little relaxation booklets. Anybody can order one of our mini relaxation kits. They just have to get in touch with us and we will post one out to you. They're free. So it's a little relaxation kit, and in there it's got, we have like a marble, a feather, a scented ribbon. We've also got a little bit of information about emotions, but we've also got some strategies to help us cope. So we have things about grounding. We have some little muscle relaxation tips, which are really good for sleeping and just doing regularly, which children need more than ever right now in a really proactive way. So we've got different styles of breathing. The bumblebee breathing seems to be very popular. We have mindfulness, we have more muscle relaxation, and we have guided imagery, and we have more muscle relaxation. So there's some really nice things to do. I can't tell you how many free resources there are on our website, so do head over there to have a look, see what you can utilise to help support your children in a proactive way. When it comes to going back to school, it's going to take some time, isn't it? We're all just in the dark a little bit about it. Everybody is. So we all have to just take some deep breaths regularly and remind ourselves that, you know, everyone's perspective is a little bit different, but it's their truth. So we need to acknowledge and validate and empathise as much as possible. But we can't do that if we're not looking after ourselves first, because we're just as important as anybody else. We're all unique, we're all wonderful, and we all deserve to take that time for us. And like I say, it doesn't have to be a big amount of time. It can just be utilising very small pockets throughout the day to take some breaths or talk kindly to ourselves, explore a wellbeing webinar, whatever it is, but some time for you. As well, in terms of what I said about acknowledging and validating those emotions for children, what I will say I keep saying on the website, I'm only saying it because there's some really good free resources on there, but it's the 49 phrases to calm an anxious child, and they are taken from Go Zen, which is a fantastic website for you to explore. They've done a blog post on this and we've just created it into a download, but it's got 49 alternatives to those fix it phrases we can go to. And there's so many that you are likely to find 2 or 3 that might work for your child when they are really, really worried and they're experiencing physical signs of that worry. So sit down with them and explore them and say, do you know, when you feel worried, which is really normal, by the way, I've noticed that you feel this way, or you sometimes get frustrated or angry or shout. Which of these phrases do you think I could say to help you feel safe at that time? And just having that really open conversation with them, it's just going to be everything. Guys, we need emotions, we need feelings, we need all of them. We don't want to stop them. The only way out is through them, but they do always pass, and they pass with the love and support and connection from each other. It's our relationships that help us through these times. We can't fix it right now, but we can be there for each other. And if any of you are really struggling at any point, I know there's a whole huge, wonderful, fantastic community, both online and locally near me, that are more than happy to help and support you. So thank you for having me. Please, if you've enjoyed it, do donate to Rainbows Hospice. They're a really fantastic organisation, such a fantastic, valuable resource for so many families that need that respite care or end of life care, and they're just wonderful. So please do head over and donate, and I will answer any questions. You can leave them still below and I will check back, or I'll get tagged in it and I will come back and answer as many as I can. So thanks for having me, Scraggy Moo, and I hopefully see you all again soon. Take care, everyone.